Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am so glad you're here with us today. Now, if you're around 10 years old, or honestly, even if you're a bit older, I want you to think about something for a quick second. Have you ever felt just completely, totally overwhelmed trying to learn something big? I'm talking about trying to memorize the controls for a super complicated new video game, or maybe staring down a really hard math problem where the numbers literally look like a scrambled alphabet. It's a lot, right? Well, today we're going to look at some pretty amazing insights into how the ultimate master teacher solved this exact problem, and exactly how you can use his secret too. Seriously, picture that exact feeling. Your brain feels like it's kind of gonna freeze up, or maybe even explode, when someone just dumps way too much information on you all at once. It doesn't really make you feel smart, does it? Mostly, it just makes you frustrated. It makes us want to throw our hands up in the air and just say, I give up. But guess what? It is completely normal to feel that way, because our brains just aren't built to take in everything in one giant gulp. Think about it like this. Imagine someone hands you a gigantic, extra large, supreme pizza. If you try to shove that entire pizza into your mouth all at once, which is like learning everything all at once, you're going to make a huge mess, and you'd probably choke. But if you take it step by step, slice by slice, suddenly that giant pizza is totally manageable and actually really enjoyable. This is the exact strategy used by the master teacher. Okay, let's dive into section 1, the master teacher's secret, how Jesus handled too much information. So when we look back at history, Jesus is often called the master teacher. But you know what? Even his closest friends had a really hard time understanding these massive, universe-sized truths. So notice what Jesus says to them in the book of John, chapter 16, verse 12. He says, I have yet many things to say unto you, but ye cannot bear them now. Now, what's really interesting about this is that incredible patience. He had all the answers, literally all the secrets of the universe, but he knew exactly when to stop teaching. He looked at his friends and realized, if I tell you guys any more today, it's just going to completely overwhelm you. He knew their limits, and he respected those limits out of total love. Now, to really get what Jesus was teaching, we need to understand the word doctrine. Doctrine is basically just a fancy word for a set of important beliefs or divine truths that get taught to others. Think of them as the really important fundamental rules and truths of the entire universe. And instead of giving these long, boring, connected lectures about doctrine that would probably put people straight to sleep or just confuse them, Jesus had a very specific, brilliant way of sharing these truths. Which brings us to section 2, treasure hunters and gardeners, discovering truth like pearls and seeds. So Jesus had this brilliant way of teaching. He didn't just stand there and give long, heavy comments. Instead, he made his listeners active participants. He basically turned them into gardeners, and he turned them into treasure hunters. The text tells us he acted like someone sowing heavenly grains of doctrine, like a farmer dropping tiny seeds into the dirt. Or he was like someone scattering these beautiful, valuable pearls. But here's the catch. A farmer doesn't instantly grow the crop, right? And pearls lying on the ground, well, they don't just magically jump into your pocket. They need to be gathered up by us. The text actually calls us the discerning laborer. That means we have to put in a little bit of effort to pick up the clues and piece the truth together ourselves, slice by slice. So how exactly do we become good treasure hunters? How do we discover these precious gems of truth and really appreciate how valuable they are? Well, the source outlines 3 traits for a true learner, sitting at Christ's feet. First, you got to be discerning, which just means you're paying close attention and looking for the real value in what's being taught. Second, you have to be humble, meaning you are totally okay admitting that you don't know everything yet. And third, teachable, meaning your ears and your heart are wide open, ready to pick up those pearls whenever they get dropped. Let's see how this builds, because when you practice being discerning, humble, and teachable, something amazing happens to the truth you're learning. Because this truth is divine, just like its author, it doesn't just stay small. It continually grows. First, it's unfolding, kind of like a map opening up. Then it's expanding, getting bigger and bigger in your mind. And finally, it's developing, almost like a beautiful flower blooming. Your understanding just opens up, step by step. And this was Jesus's brilliant plan all along, giving us truth here and there a little. You see, truth is really, really bright. Imagine waking up in a pitch-black room, and suddenly someone turns on the brightest stadium lights ever. It hurts your eyes, right? You have what we call feeble sight. Jesus knew our spiritual sight is sometimes feeble, so instead of blinding us, he turns the light up just a little bit at a time, here and there, waiting patiently until our eyes adjust and we can finally handle the big, beautiful truths that his love wants to show us. And that leads us to section 3, passing the torch, teaching others like Jesus. Learning how the master teacher taught is really only half the secret. The other half is what you actually do with it. Think about a time you had to teach a game rule or maybe a math problem to a younger sibling or a classmate who was learning just a little bit slower than you were. Did you get frustrated? Or did you remember the master teacher's secret? The source text includes a really moving poem about this, and I want to read these lines to you. I want you to really listen to the feeling in these words. The gentleness of Christ, Lord, should not we, in teaching others, strive to act like thee? Just take a deep breath and think about that phrase for a second. The gentleness of Christ. It's calm, it's warm, and it is incredibly encouraging. And this brilliantly illustrates the choice we have every single day. On one hand, we can be hasty and impatient. We can get mad when someone doesn't understand those hallowed lessons as quickly as we do. But on the other hand, we can choose to act like Jesus. We can be patient toward those who learn slowly. We can give them the truth line upon line without rushing them at all, letting them gather the pearls at their very own pace. So here is my final challenge for you as we wrap up this explainer. Ask yourself, who can you be patient with today? Maybe it's a sibling, a friend, or honestly, even yourself when you're struggling to learn something brand new. You have the opportunity to become a master teacher in training by copying the exact step-by-step gentleness of Christ. Just give them the truth and the help they need. Here a little, there a little. Who will you share a little patience with today?